Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick guardian.
Jared Brandon wound pickups.
Hello, everyone. This is Todd. Novak, thank you so much for joining us for another fantastic episode of the Guitar Knobs. This is our little baby that we walk down the street hand in hand with all of you out there listening to us whine and cry and fall down.
Go boom.
Jared.
Yes.
What do we do on the Guitar Knobs?
We interview boutique builders of awesome gear. And we also do 101 stuff and we learn things. And once in a while we have a big company on, like the speaker company that we did. Or, we might have a bigger guitar company on later on down the road. Who knows? Who cares? Let's just have fun and talk about gear.
Yeah.
Gear.
The boutique builders is our sweet spot.
It is.
And we celebrate them. And we've got one from far away today. Who are you, sir?
Hello, I'm Joe from Hello Sailor Effects.
Hello, Joe.
What do you know?
What do you know, Joe?
Joe Halliday from Hello Sailor Effects. Hopefully you've seen his pedals and effects out there on the internet, more than likely the Instagrams. He's sort of made his mark with the, I guess for lack of better terms, Sailor Jerry style tattoo flash art on his boxes, and colorful and fun and awesome. We've mentioned him on the podcast before. He sent out a pedal for us to check out. It was the underdrive, if you recall, the broadside underdrive, which is will scramble your brain if you try to figure it out. So we won't get into that.
Just plug it in and play.
Just plug it in and play.
Plug and play.
Joe, we're going to have a great time talking to you, getting to know you, and sharing your brand stylings and products with the rest of the world.
And where are you calling from?
Right now I'm calling from Portsmouth, England, down the south of the country.
And where are you originally from?
I'm from Liverpool originally, but travel with work, so...
I thought you were going to say Nashville. All right. Well, I'm sure everybody will cue into some of the little idiosyncrasies in his colorful accent that those of us aren't normally listening to, and everybody who listens to him from over in the UK is gonna be like, "What's the big deal?"
Exactly. Is there, aside from your pedals, is Liverpool known for anything else?
The best football team in the world.
Oh man! Now you woke up the UK's.
I don't totally they're number 2 in my heart. But anyways, we won't trod upon that pitch, so to speak. Anyways, okay. Blah, blah, blah. So we got some announcements that we're gonna do here. Real quick, we're gonna hit up Rode and say, "Hey Rode, thank you for supplying our awesome audio equipment, the Rodecaster Pro, this beautiful baby capturing our voices right now and processing them into digital
ones
delights.
and zeros.
And we also have the Procaster mic, which has been capturing our lovely velvety voices for several years now. So these are mighty fine instruments. If you are considering getting into podcasting, I highly suggest the Rodecaster Pro, or if you're just recording your band in your basement, this is also a pretty sweet thing to be able to use for that.
Are you ever going to let us push the effects buttons?
Nope. Anyways, yeah, it's got all kinds of crazy effects pads that you can, put in for sounds and junk, and make whatever you want.
Make fun.
Like at the beginning, when we do, and we do our intro.
Really?
We could put that on one of these silicone pads, and I just hit it. But I do that in post anyway, so it doesn't matter. Anyways,
you're letting them see behind the curtain, Todd.
A little bit.
Everybody thinks that you play that every time.
On that note, for information purposes, we run 4 microphones in here plus a external call in through the USB port here that's running on 5 separate channels. Those channels are then mixed and EQ'd individually in Logic X on Mac, and then down to a single channel, and then that's chopped up and hacked up so that we don't sound like complete morons to the best of our editing ability.
I was wondering how you did that.
It's a very, very lengthy process, but it's worth it. It is worth it. All right. I want to just hit on Instagram again, just real quick. We mentioned this on the last podcast. If you are out there on Instagram and you see us, just give us a follow. It'll really make me happy. It brightens my day when someone says, yes, as a matter of fact, I will take more of your content. Shove it down my throat, why don't you? We're trying to grow. We're trying to grow the channel, and it'll be really helpful. So make sure you go over to Instagram and just hit follow.
Just follow.
Drop me a DM, the direct message on Instagram. Tell us what your 4 on the floor is. Share a thought. Tell us why you listen.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
We've had that.
Oh, yeah. We had a great question on the last one.
Yes, we did.
Fantastic. So we'd love more of that. Anyways, so that's some announcements. Gentlemen's, anything from you guys? Tony, Jared? Jared's got a big purple cup to match his big purple shirt.
He's not wearing a purple shirt.
No. He's got a big purple brand one. It's the exact color of the shirt, too.
Oh,
How did you do that?
It's Grape Ape.
My wife got this for me. She knows I love the color purple.
Interesting.
I don't like Barney, though. I never got into Barney.
No, but you would make a great
Oh, my God. He'd make an
Barney.
awesome Barney.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, so let's get into what's going on in our music world this week. Jared, tell us what's going on in your music world this week.
Well, everybody knows that I'm a pickup guy, and that's what I do for a living. And
That could have many connotations. Let's just be clear. Guitar pickups.
that's
Yes.
true.
Okay.
He's a pickup guru.
That's funny.
Yeah, you don't like pickup suitcases from, quote, Bogota.
That's
or
laugh kind of
anything.
funny, too.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
It's laugh funny, not funny.
Yeah.
Bad funny. So anyhow, I do a lot of rewinds, and rewinding pickups are one of my favorite things to do because I really like seeing an old, tore up, mangled pickup because I know it's going to look nice and fresh and restored, or still look old but yet working for the customer. So recently I got in a set of mid 60s humbuckers, and they're extremely rare because the color of the coil wire is red and green. And that is is very, very rare color that
Why is it
Gibson used.
mixed?
Because they had a small amount of green wire at a certain time, and they just used it up. And
So one coil is red, one coil is green?
that's exactly right. It's
That's
like
cool.
a little
It's
Christmas.
Christmas.
It's a Christmas pickup.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I shared that on the Facebook and the internets and the Instagram, and I mean it's just a very simple yet very interesting little factoid about the old humbuckers from back in the day.
That's really cool.
So yeah, that kind of brightened up my week that I got to see that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also, I'm getting ready to visit some guitar builders, going back to Nashville to visit some guitar builders this week. So in preparation for that, I'm really working hard to try to present something that, might flourish into more business.
That's
So I'm getting
fantastic.
ready for that
Nice.
too.
That's what that's for. You're supposed to go there to
Go
generate
there to
business.
meet and then go there to sell.
Yeah.
Tony, how about yourself?
So I've been going through. I have a couple of old Guild Starfires that have big.
I like
on
those.
them. And I do too. Obviously, and I've got.
Can you just elaborate on what a Guild Starfire?
So it was Guild's. Basically, it's a full hollow body instrument, especially the ones from the '60s. Single cutaway. They did make a double cutaway version later, but the ones that I like are early '60s, and
That's a single cutaway.
single cutaway in
Right.
the early '60s.
And
correct.
the body isn't quite as big. When you're saying full hollow body, I think a lot of people's brains,
Oh, like a full
including mine,
size,
might go to
full
like a
thickness.
Gretsch kind
Yeah,
of thing.
so it's thinner. So it would be, I forget the actual thickness. It's very thin. It's much thinner. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That's a scary movie. But anyhow, basically it was Guild's answer to, I guess, what Gibson was putting out at the time. Some of the thin Gibsons, like the 335s and different things like that.
Well, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Or like it's probably more of like a thin ES 175. Because,
that's where I was going.
Because the 335s have a block in them.
Yeah, and they're much thinner.
No.
Than the Starfire?
No, I think they're about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, they're about the same thickness, under 2 inches. So anyhow, I guess my. Oh, that's right. I forgot. You've seen so many of these in your career.
I like them.
So I've got a couple of really old ones. I've got a 62 and a 61 and what was it, a 64 maybe? Anyhow, they're Starfire 3s. I guess, but the point I was getting to is I've had some reissue ones that have newer style Bigsby's. And I don't know if anyone else out there has noticed this. And I don't know if it's from wear and tear or whatever, but every one of the vintage Bigsby's on the guitars that I play is incredible. Doesn't knock the guitar out of tune. It's very smooth. But then I'll pick up one of the reissues, and it doesn't matter if it has a U.S.-made Bigsby or one of the import models. They just are not the same. And I'm just not sure what changed over time, if the company that's making them now is doing something different or using different tolerances or whatever. But I'd be curious to see if any of our listeners out there have had a similar issue.
Well, there's a gap in the market there.
What's that?
A bump in the
There's
market?
a gap in the market. Someone could measure out an old one and reproduce it. There's definitely a
marketing
gimmick or.
If that's it, I mean, the question is, is it because the unit itself is over 50 years old, or did they do something different? Different tolerances or different springs or different, it could be almost anything. But I mean, I've just really noticed that, and especially on the import models. So I'm guessing that has to do with materials. That's just, so yeah, I was digging through my cases the other day and pulling those out and monkeying around with them a little bit.
Well, I don't think you're alone, because I think most, especially with the boutique builders, you rarely are seeing boutique builders using the Bigsby's these days. They're using some of the other variants. And
the one that like is it the less trim?
Yeah, with the giant sort of spring sticking out and the really big arm.
That, I think, isn't it a Duesenberg or something? I think they came out with that, but I know a couple of, Novo is using that, I think, on some of the models.
Yeah. Nutter uses those.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyways, well, that's cool. Lottie-dottie.
Yeah, so just an observation and a provocateur to get a conversation going.
Yeah, you said it right. I didn't. Last time. Let's see, Joe, how about yourself?
Well, this week I've kind of been on a journey of wood, which is odd for a pedal builder. But a while ago I had a custom Telecaster neck made, a 24 or 24-inch Gibson scale, 24 and 3/4 or whatever, American that is. And it's amazing. And the guy who made me this neck got me thinking maybe I should get a whole guitar commissioned. So I've kind of been searching out wood for that. But because this is going to be the guitar to end all guitars, I thought I'm having Brazilian rosewood. That is happening. So
on the body?
No, it starts off as just a fretboard.
Okay, I was going to say, you're a braver man than I.
Yeah, be heavy. Yeah, so I bought this fretboard blank. It sounded amazing, and oddly enough, smelled amazing. And then it got me thinking that, no, I can do a whole neck. So I searched out a antique table from, I think it's from 1830. It's a William V table with 2 solid rosewood legs. So one leg is enough to get a solid rosewood neck out for my guitar, and then another leg I'm going to get it chopped down into fretboard blanks just to, spread the love a bit, maybe sell them on Reverb.
Wow.
So I've been on a real journey of wood, like looking at antique tables. My wife thinks I've gone crazy. She's like, we are not having that in the house. Like, it's not for the house. I'm going to cut it.
Oh, that's great.
I'm trying to think of a good joke to tie in for legging it. which is your term for let's split.
Yeah. Did you? I don't know if you've had a chance to map out the body yet, but I was really surprised because I've some of the 24 3/4 Telecasters, the bridge literally only has to move about 1/4 of an inch closer to the neck. I mean,
also with my Telecaster, I actually bought. I don't know if you've seen Slick guitars, like a real cheap, foreign made with Slick's name on Telecaster with one pickup.
Yeah.
Well, I got one of them it's got a solid brass wrap over bridge. So I bought that and I routed the body out for regular Tele pickups, mounted a pick guard. And so basically I've got this Swamp Ash body with already a wrap over bridge on. And I'm routed out, put regular Telecaster wiring and pickups in it. And also got the neck change, so it's now a Gibson scale length as well. So it's like the most Les Paul Tele in the world.
I love it.
That's great.
I love it.
Well, another issue I have is with the Telecaster on a Fender is I dig in with the pick, so it hits the pick guard and really annoys me. So I got him to make the neck thicker so that the strings are away from the body a bit like a Les Paul, and I can lift the bridge and it feels just like a Les Paul.
Huh.
Well, that is interesting. You're gonna have to make sure you share pics of that.
Yeah, send some follow-up photos. That'd be cool.
Well, I nitro sprayed it myself and relicked it because I'm a heathen. And, and the neck, don't get me wrong, the neck is fantastic. I mean, if anyone gets a chance to look at Maybe Guitars, I think he sells on Instagram, another Instagram seller, but he made, like, I like fat necks, and he kind of took me telling him what I want and made it into the perfect size, shape. The guy wanted me to go to his workshop and shape the neck with my hand, so it fitted my hand all the way up and down the neck. It's just the pinnacle of amazingness. I've had a lot of guitars, but this neck just feels like home, and I've not had it long, so that's really good.
Do you have pretty big paws?
No, I have really small girl hands, but just like a handful.
That's why he can build effects pedals.
Yeah, but he didn't. He has
the dexterity.
He has small hands, but really fat fingers.
Right.
I have this weird thing about if something is really, really hard to do and something's really easy to do, I'll pick the hard one every time. So a fat neck with small hands, or the largest component you can think of that doesn't fit in a pedal, I'll find a way to get that bad boy in there,
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you and Wooly have a lot in common. So that's really cool. What color did you paint it?
Shell pink was my Tele. So, and it's got an anodized gold pickguard, an aged one from where did I get from Rebel Relics over in Europe.
Wow,
nice.
That's quite a guitar.
Well, I went for 5-way wire and harness from Monty's Guitars. So it's got humbucker, or both pickups in series. Then it's got the neck, the middle position of a Telecaster, then the bridge, and then the last position, the fifth position, or first position, however you want to look at it, is the bridge pickup with 30% of the neck blended in, just for a bit more fatness. It's just so versatile.
Huh. That's...
So, but now, the normal person would get this amazing guitar, better than anything they've ever played, and go, right, I'm happy now. And I thought, he only made 50% of this guitar. What happens if he makes the whole thing?
Wow.
So I kind of, I built him a few pedals, we did a few deals, and his guitars are real cheap for what they are, because he's doing it part-time at the minute. But his fully custom guitars, hollow body, start at £1,000. That is ridiculous.
That's super low.
Yeah, and I think once the world realizes what they're worth, they're going to go in the thousands. But his Telecaster guitars just from scratch are like £500 to start.
Wow.
And, you spec everything out yourself. So I'm going for a hollow body this time. It's kind of a shrunk down 339 or 339, as you guys say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like it's his own body shape, but it's a bit smaller. But it's in a vein of a 339. I've designed the headstock myself as well. So as long as you don't pick a Gibson headstock or another brand, he's happy to do anything.
Wow.
And of course, the solid Brazilian rosewood neck is like this is going to be a dream come true.
Wow, that's incredible. That part of it right there.
Yeah.
Especially if it's from the 1830s, you say.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, I haggled down and I got the table for about £400. I really hope my wife's not listening to this, by the way.
Wait, 400. So that's about $750.
No, at this point, it's down.
Is it down?
That's about $500
Yeah.
now.
Really?
It's really similar. So that was $500, we'll say, and I'll get a couple of fretboard blanks that'll probably pay for the table itself.
Wow.
So that's just.
And
I'm having a nightmare with couriers, so my week spent chasing it down. So it's now in a warehouse somewhere waiting to be delivered, which is not ideal, but
Interesting.
we'll see.
I'm not a woodsmith by any stretch, but if the top, you could get the top planed to be able to pull laminate off for like a body top, I would imagine.
Well, I've also bought a curly maple top that is it's a two piece top that is, it's not overly planed, but the plane's deep and there's some real nice grain on it. So I'm going to stick with
Well, that was a pretty cool, man. That sounds like a fantastic guitar. I cannot wait to. It sounds wacky. It sounds kind of crazy. It's and blingy and all kinds of stuff. How
about you, Todd? What was going on in your musical world this week?
Well, thanks for asking, Tony Baloney. I had an on-stage patch cable issue. And it's kind of connected to my volume pedal. And so I switched guitars, and when I replugged in, I got about half the volume out of my Hagstrom Viking, and I was like,
Whoa.
what's going on? And it sounded like doo-doo. So I said, what? I got to fix this. So I hit my friends up at Three Monkeys amps and solderless. God dang it.
You can't say that,
I'm looking at it. There's a big L in it. Solderless. What is so dumb? Anyways, they make really great solderless cable systems. We've tried a couple, and at least for these ones I really like, and they're great dudes. So I put in an order over there, and they sent it out to me, and on the bottom there's a monkey with a gun. That's a little scary. Better than soldered. It says on the hashtag better than soldered. Soldered. So I'm gonna hook up my board, and then we got to talking. I'm like, man, I'd love to have you guys back on, because they've got extensive knowledge, not only in building. They make one of the best boutique amps out there, the Three Monkeys, and then they started their cable systems. But they have extensive experience in actual like gig touring. One of their three partners is Brad from Aerosmith. He's got a signature right there. He sent it to us. Kind of cool. Anyways,
how about that?
So yeah, they know what they're doing, and they're fun, and they're going to be back on the show. So we're setting that up. Thank you to Three Monkeys for shipping that out so quickly. That was fantastic. So I get to do that. Yeah, very excited.
They look like it's a pretty simple way to put those cables together, too, with the instructions on the back.
It really is. Actually, you know what I was thinking about doing is getting a real cheap cigar cutter, because the whole thing is you don't want to use pliers necessarily, because that'll basically pinch it. You don't want to use a sawing action. You want to do something right. So they suggest using a utility knife to just cut through it like an actual knife. But then I thought, hey, wait a minute. What if I use a cigar cutter? Yeah. So I might do that. See what happens, right?
What's the worst that can happen?
It won't work, and I'll cut another little piece off.
There you go.
Anyhow, so looking forward to that. Just got that, and very exciting. Oh, hey. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor. Oh, man, we are excited for this. We got Joe Halliday from Hello Sailor Effects. He's going to share his 4 on the floor. Go for it, Joe.
Right, so first of all, I have an always-on clon pedal. Now, I'd never tried a clon pedal before, but I've got a friend, Simon. He sent me one from JSA Effects, which is a pretty unknown effects company in the UK, and he makes these pedals one at a time. There's no artwork or colour to speak of, but what's special about it is it's a direct replica of a clon, only not using op amps like the original. It uses transistors or discrete amplifiers to do the same job. So instead of having 3 op amps, I think it has. I've not looked at the circuit personally. It has 9 transistors or 6 JFETs and 3 transistors to do the same job, which is unnecessary and probably makes no difference to the sound. But I like that. It's kind of different.
Maybe you should have called your company 3 Lefts.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good pedal company name right there. 3 Lefts to make it right. All right, go ahead.
So anyway, it turns out it is a little different to my ears, which are really untrained, and I've spent a lifetime in noisy machinery rooms, so probably not that accurate. But it has a lot more low mid punch from the pedal, and that's kind of where I like my sound to be. So that's underneath my pedal board, and it's on all the time. It literally, with not a lot of gain on, next and on, the volume at equal, and the tone just to give it a little bit of a push to poke through the mix, or if I'm at home, I trim that back a little bit to make it sound a bit nicer, outside of the band mix. But yeah, that's my first one. And
it almost sounds like,
as far as pedals go,
it almost sounds like you're using it like an EP booster.
Yeah,
exactly how I used to use the EP booster. That's the one.
Gotcha.
It adds something to the sound that you don't notice until you turn it off. And you're like, what the heck? Something's just changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, you're going to have to send a picture of that, since that's probably going to be hard for us to find, so we can put it on the 4 on the Floor blog.
Yeah, I'll take some pictures of it.
Great.
From different angles and stuff. Cool. And so moving on from that, my second pedal is the Antares Overdrive from Tate Effects. Now, this is they'll probably go mental with me saying this, but it's a Tube Screamer type pedal. So a mid-pushed overdrive, if you like. But it's got a clean blend on it, which, I wanted this pedal for the longest time. And Stu from Tate Effects graciously sent me one. And my idea of it was I was going to turn a clean blend to fully wet and forget about it. Doesn't need a clean blend because I don't play bass. However, when I've got the pedal and I started messing with it, the clean blend is just amazing. You can get a lot more gain out the pedal and still keep a bit of clarity as well, and it doesn't do the whole shelving off the bottom end that the Tube Screamer does. It's a fantastic pedal. It does everything you want from a Tube Screamer and none of the stuff that you don't.
That sounds fantastic. I'm personally a fan of being able to blend in a little bit of clean, because especially with the style of music that I play personally, it helps give it a little bit of that almost like a straight through the amp kind of sound, but you still get the saturations and the overtones from whatever drives you're using, but still it sounds kind of ampy. Yeah, exactly. And it's like most people think a turned up amp sounds like a turned up overdrive, and it really doesn't. There's like less gain or less distortion and a bit more clarity to it. And this does that. So, yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
And Stuart from Tate Effects is like the nicest guy you're ever going to meet. I mean, he helped me out designing a few of my other pedals and sent me free pedals. And, I'm practically a nobody. He's selling his pedals nationwide in the UK. And he took the time out to help a competitor, if you will. Absolutely fabulous. So you should buy a pedal off him just for that.
Fantastic. Cool. That's number dose. What do you have for number 3?
Okay, so number 3 is my favorite circuit of all time. And when I'm buried, I'm going to be buried with one of these bad boys, is a Rangemaster. I absolutely love these things. They are the epitome of pedal making in my eyes. And the one I'm going to go for is the Copper Sound Broadway. I just got one of these maybe 6 weeks ago, and it is fabulous. So, I don't know if you've seen them before, like a Telecaster looking pedal.
Oh yeah. We've had them on the show, and Alex
we tried that one, didn't we?
He is such a great dude in the guitar community. His just approach to how he deals with the community at large is great. He makes fantastic pedals. They sound amazing, and they look fantastic too. Oh,
He
so
makes
good.
he makes a mean flashlight too.
That's right. We've got the guitar. He made us guitar knobs flashlights for our pedal boards. It's awesome.
Yeah, I seen them. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit jealous. It's seafoam green as well, with a perloid scratch plate, if you like.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a good combo.
I mean, I have it third in the chain, which presents an issue with vintage germanium transistors, but the clean blend from the Tate Effects kind of offsets that a little bit. So, yeah, it works really well.
Was that a custom combination that you got from him?
No, I bought it from Reverb. I wanted one for the longest time. I'd spoke to him a couple of times about a shell pink relic one, because I'm a huge shell pink fanboy. It's like, that's got to be the best color for a guitar.
So that's a thing it seems like it's a thing over there, and that may be amplified from the guitar nerds, because they're always talking everything that they have to have is shell pink, like all of them. It's crazy. They're all like, that's the only color that exists. They love that color, and I think that's maybe that's just amplified the love of shell pink. I don't know that it's as big over here.
No,
it doesn't feel like it is.
No.
But so is that true? Is that like the thing over there?
Yeah, well, do you know what? I think it must come from the guitar nerds, because they're like, I mean, they started the GAK podcast way back when, and that was like the only thing the UK had, like podcast wise or media wise, and it was fabulous for what it was. And then it's developed into this amazing, and I'd say it's the most popular one over here, along with the Fret Talk podcast. Then too, the Guitar Knobs, the Guitar Nerds is kind of like the prim and proper Good Boys podcast, if you like.
Yeah. And
the Fret Talk podcast is if you want some smut. So
yeah. We've had the pleasure of meeting up with them,
cool.
And they, it was great talking with them, because it's not a big giant guitar podcast world out there. So when you do meet up with the others that are doing it and doing it really well, and we're all fans of that show. We listen to all the episodes. So it's funny because occasionally we'll get this, even when if we have a guest on the show, like we'll have people, we have to say, are you still there? And they've literally said, oh, I thought I was listening to the show. Right? So when you meet up with somebody that you're used to listening to, and you're standing right in front of them, it's like, this is weird. This is cool. But it's weird because you're here and I'm hearing your voice, but you're standing right in front of me. So they were really great dudes.
Well, I think they just seem like real nice guys and down to earth. And Joe Branton, he seems like the type of guy I want to go out on a weekend bender with,
Yeah. For sure. Haven't had the pleasure of meeting Joe, but hopefully someday our paths will cross, even though I'm sure he's going, no.
Just keep him away. Cease and desist.
Yeah. So that's cool. Now, hopefully you'll get to cross paths with the Copper Sound team at some point, because obviously you got a lot of love for that pedal, and they're a great company. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. What do you have for number 4?
Okay, so number 4 is a bit of a weird one. I went on a bit of a journey for flangey type chorusy effects. Now, I really didn't like them for the longest time, and I wanted to like them. It's just one of them effects that you got to have. It's like a fashion type thing, isn't it? And I wanted to like it so much, and I just never did, until I got hold of an Ibanez Prime Dual Chorus. So it's a PC-10.
Okay.
So one of the old effects.
The 10s,
So it says a dual chorus, when really it's 2 pedals in one. The first pedal is a chorus, a 2-knob chorus, and the second pedal is a 4-knob flanger, but still labeled chorus. And the foot switch can either turn the pedal on and off, but switch between the two settings. And it just, whenever I A/B this against any other chorus or flanger, it just sounds 3D compared to it. It just sounds so much better. And I couldn't live without this one now. I don't think they're particularly rare or anything, but it's just a fabulous pedal.
It's weird. The 10 series Ibanez pedals, if you can if you're trying to figure out, well, I don't know what the 10 series pedals are, and know you've seen them. They have the rubber or it's a rubbery plastic foot pad that has triangles on it, and the actual controls are like sunk down below the pedal height, or the foot pad height, and they're old. They're from the 80s.
Yeah.
And you can pick them up pretty much cheap, although they are harder to get a hold of now, and they are going up in price.
I guess I better buy some before this podcast hits.
But I mean, I can't tell you how many people. I mean, I probably could. I could go back and find that out. But a lot of people have used the Series 10 pedal in the 4 on the floor. That, as far as an overarching brand and series go, might be actually in the lead.
Well, to look at the pedals, they look cheap and plasticky and not made well. And the switches aren't great, to be fair. But when I picked the pedal up for the first time, I was like, what the heck? Because it's solid metal and it's heavy. It looks a lot more plasticky than it is.
Yeah. So if you find one of those on Craigslist or Reverb and it's pretty cheap, go for it. Worst can happen is you have a pedal.
Need a paperweight?
Yes. Okay, well, dude, that was great. A nice little 4 on the floor.
That's a solid 4 on the floor.
Yeah, excellent.
Interesting pedals, too.
Yeah, very interesting. So let's transition from there into the interview portion of this show. We have, yet again, I'm going to re-announce, we've got Joe Halliday from Hello Sailor Effects.
Hello.
How did you come up with the name Hello Sailor?
Right, okay. So originally, I wanted to come up with something really edgy and cool that was to do with my life, that was a bit personal, or add something to do with reality as opposed to just a name. And I've spent the last 17 years in the Royal Navy, so it was going to be something water orientated or Navy or sea. However, earlier on in my sailor days, I got this Hello Sailor tattoo on the front of my shoulder. It's like been a bane of my life. It's like the most camp tattoo you've ever seen. And it says Hello Sailor around it, and I thought, do you know what, that's going to be my badge. And that is now the Hello Sailor Effects badge.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's the pinup.
Yeah, the pinup.
Well, hey, man, you got a thing. That's cool. Some people go mad trying to figure out a thing, and you're just like, yeah, it's this. Duh.
To do something like serious and like sharp looking or whatever. And that's just not me. I'm a bit light-hearted, if you will. So, seems to fit.
Interesting. So you were in the Royal Navy for 17 years.
Still now. I've still got 5 years left to serve.
Oh, holy moly. How are you building? How does that work? Because you're not building them. Are you on? I don't know how this works.
He only builds when the sea is calm.
Yeah.
No. I so basically, 2017 is when I started rebuilding again. Because I had maybe a 3-year layoff where, life got in the way and I didn't really take it seriously. And then at the end of 2017, I come back from 9 months out in the Gulf, and I was like, I'm going to give this a real go. And since then, I've been building while I've been on watch, out on operations at sea, at home on leave. I have, a little pack of all my components and soldering kit and stuff that's small enough and robust enough to go around everywhere. And generally, if I build a pedal that's somewhere interesting, I'll write it on the inside of the pedal, built during operations off the coast of wherever.
Wow, that's really cool. That's super cool.
So I don't know how much you've seen on Instagram. There's a pedal on there called the Thunder Child, which is like a 4-stage overdrive that was built for a guy called Everett and Joseph. He's an artist in the UK, like a metal type artist. And I built this pedal over 3 months of away out on operations. I'm not sure I can say where, so I'm not going to. And basically, I built this pedal while I was off watch. So I do 12 hours work, and then you're meant to sleep for 12 hours, eat or whatever. And I would put my thinking cap on and go and scribble away. And it took me forever to get this pedal right, but it was all done in between work, watches, and life on board the warship. And it turned out really good, if I do say so myself.
That's fantastic. Boy, it's a good thing you're not a submariner.
I know.
a big
I imagine
a
fumes would
big
be pretty
dude
dodgy.
on a, because I imagine you're a larger fella. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not in height.
Okay.
He's short for his weight, like me.
Yeah. That would be difficult to do. building pedals. A big guy building pedals in a submarine. Oh boy.
So most of my pedals. I mean, I've got 5 years left to do in the Navy, which I'm trying to see out my time before doing pedals full time. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Wow. So you're going to be an admiral?
No, I'm a petty officer, but I pick up my chiefs in about 2 months' time. So it's all good.
That's fantastic.
All right.
So you're gonna, you know what? When that happens, you got to do a commemorative pedal for that.
Do you know what? I've already been putting plans in motion for that.
Awesome.
Maybe some sort of Chiefs cap badge or something on the front. Something along them lines, I was thinking.
Wow. So the pedal you sent our way, was that built out at sea?
Oh, no. Well, see, for the next, I've been teaching in the Royal Navy's engineering school for a year now, and I've got 1 more year left before I go back to sea as a chief on a ship. So I'm teaching hydraulics, which has nothing to do with electrics. So that's helpful. But so I've got another year back at home in Portsmouth teaching.
Wow. Interesting. Do you miss not being out at sea?
No.
Tell us how you really feel.
I know. I was in the military myself, so I've rubbed elbows with plenty of sailors and people of the such. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
In my younger days, this was amazing. I come from a council estate in Liverpool without any qualifications and joined the Navy on a whim because one of my friends joined and quit and said it was too hard. And I said, I bet you I could do it. And my mum was like,
that's great.
My mum said, you can't take any illegal substances. You can't, I was an absolute tearaway. And I said, no, I'm going to do it. And my plan was to pass the training and then leave just to say to my mate, I did it. There you go.
Right.
And then 17 years later, here I am, still in.
Wow. Well, then that worked out for you then.
I'm sure it's very beneficial though to, put a career in that field though, right?
Well, so my actual engineering subject is refrigeration. So cooling systems for weapons and domestic refrigeration is my specialization.
That's pretty interesting.
That doesn't really help for guitar pedals.
That's so interesting. I love just hearing everybody always has such an interesting backstory. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's really cool. Really
No worries.
It's really cool.
So how did you get into starting building pedals?
Okay, so I had my first valve amp, which was an orange Tiny Terror. Fantastic amps they are, by the way. It stopped working, and it turns out warships run off domestic. I mean, in the UK, we have 230 volts. I think you guys are 110 or 115, are you? Or
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
whatever it takes, I love it. We run off 230, but a warship domestic is 240 volts because it's easier to produce. And I imagine the Royal Navy's real cheap, and he went, that's easy to make, so we'll do that. So anyway, it burns out the fuse of my amplifier, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? And I'm too cheap to pay £50 to have an amp guy look at it. So I literally borrowed a meter off the electrical guys and taught myself how to use it, traced the amp, and then eventually found that it was at the beginning, the fuse. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to build myself an amp. And to build an amp, I thought maybe I better start somewhere smaller and go for the pedal. So I built a pedal, and that turned into 2 and then 3 and then carried on. And then up until this year, I never built the amp. I just stuck with pedals.
And you have an amp in the works, or you've made one?
Oh, yeah. So I think you guys, I was looking this up before because I think it was episode 127, I want to say, but I don't know, where you were talking about, if you've got something that you want to do, just do it. Don't wait about, just have a crack at it. And, most of the guys who come on your show say, I just had to go at it and look where I am now. And I thought, you know what? I'm building that amplifier.
Yeah, nice.
So I built myself a Brownface Deluxe, a 6G3
Okay.
circuit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm absolutely in love with it. Yeah, so I had a 98 Les Paul Custom, which was like my baby, and on a whim I sold it to fund this amp project. I do miss the guitar, however I like the amp more. So I bought all the bits and went for it, and now I've got this perfect brown face.
Wow, that's inspiring, man. Thank you for sharing that. It's so cool to hear feedback, like, you know, when we're just talking and stuff, but, you know, sometimes things are clicking, and then you got a guy building an amp just because, you know, someone said you should do it. That's cool. I love that. Excellent.
I've had so many people say we need some Hello Sailor amps. Like I've had maybe 3 or 4 orders, and I'm not au fait enough with amp building to charge people and to do it properly, if you will. But definitely that may be an area to go to in the future, because it was a lot of fun. It was a lot more dangerous, which makes it more fun.
Yeah.
especially when the seas are rolling.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I finished building the amp, and for maybe a few hours, I sat looking at it without turning it on, because, you know, once the capacitors are charged, there's lethal voltage inside even when you remove the power. And I was really worrying about it. And my wife said, "How is that different to work?" And I said, "Well, you know, these can go up to whatever voltage, maybe 400 volts. And she said, "Well, what's the voltage in where?" I said, 750 volts DC. And said, "Well, what's the difference then?" Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just because I built it, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah.
Wow. That's well, that is pretty cool. So yeah, now you have to design the amp, right?
Yeah, well, I think next step is to put a tube reverb in there and go from there, maybe.
That's awesome. Have you been thinking about being able to roll like several of those out? Obviously, you can't do that at sea, so I would imagine that's something you have to do once you get out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once I've left the Navy, I can put some real time into it.
Oh,
And there's so many great guys out there building so many better products that I couldn't compete price wise yet. I'd like to do it properly, you know.
Yeah, well, see, but that's the thing. Do you need to compete?
Well, I don't want to put everything into this one part of building, and when I could be developing pedals, when there's so many things you can do with a pedal.
Yeah.
Compared to, well, in my eyes, compared to an amp, there's, you know, so many different combinations of pedals out there already that you can mash up and build bigger pedals, if you will.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting point, though, which is there are so many pedals that can do all kinds of things, right? But when it comes down to it, the person who's looking for a pedal also knows that. So it's not like nobody's buying the pedals, or people that are buying the pedals because they, they're like, well, this one, there's not another thing that does this. Most people are buying them because that particular one does something specific for them, or that they have an affinity for the brand from which it comes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd like to think that people who buy pedals from me don't just buy a pedal from me and then that's it. I like them to get in touch, you know, send me demos, chat gear, talk about anything guitar related. And I find myself chasing people up and asking, you know, how did you get on? What did it fit in your rig? And just generally talking guitar gear. I find that my social media is full of people that I'm now friends with through they purchase gear from me, and now we speak regularly about, you know, are they buying this amp? Are they buying that amp? Oh, look what I've got new. And I see it as that sort of thing, as opposed to, you know, someone's bought a pedal off me because they like the pedal, and then that's the end of it.
Wow. That's very cool, man. Very cool indeed. So let's talk about what do you think is your flagship pedal? No pun intended. I didn't mean that to be shippy. What a shippy joke.
So, yeah. The top of the range pedal, or the pedal that's got the most interest, is the Kossoff drive. It's basically just my take on a plexi, which has been done to death, really. But Paul Kossoff is my absolute all-time favorite guitarist. So I obviously went for his sound, which, you I either did or didn't get close to. But I've recently put that in the same enclosure as a range master, and that's now called the free range. So that I'd say that's probably going to be my flagship pedal, if you will.
And is that the one that's the pinup on it?
I've only built one at the minute. It's got a picture of Paul on the front of it, but it's basically the left-hand side is a Kossoff drive. So we've got the
okay, I got you. We're looking it up right now.
Yeah, and then the right-hand side is one of my range masters with a input transformer and a 3-position EQ switch. And I think that is going to be my flagship pedal from now on. But before that, it was definitely the Kossoff drive.
So on the new
and I even actually managed to get a Kossoff drive in the hands of the guy who owns Paul Kossoff's 59 Les Paul over your side of the pond.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so one of the first ones I built, Kossoff drives, a guy got in touch with me and just said, I'd like to buy one. And usually people have 1,000 questions and, we talk out the pedal, the artwork and stuff. And he just blasé, paid me the money, and that was the end of it. So I thought, that's weird. Then I built the pedal, sent it away. And then he sent me a picture of it back on top of Paul Kossoff's Les Paul. And I've since followed him on Instagram, and he's a big vintage guitar collector out in the US, and he owns a Kossoff drive, one of the first ones.
That's
so
awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
So you got a lot of drive stuff going on. Are you just kind of, you feel like your sweet spot is the drives, or are you going to branch out a bit? Well,
I have branched out a bit in the past. So I've built a couple of chorus pedals, which is still refining. I mean, they were good, but they're still not like the end where I want to go with it. So I've built a few of them for friends. And also I built a dual delay for the same guy that owns the Thunderchild, Everything Joseph. He wanted this crazy delay pedal that is like 2 analog delays where they can either both go into the front of your amp or switch a switch, and the second delay goes through into the effects return. And basically it's 4 knob delay, so you've got blend, delay time, delay level, and amount of repeats. So there's 8 knobs in total. So I built this one monster delay that took so long, and I was like, wow, I'm staying away from them for a while.
8 knobs?
Yeah, so it's basically two delay pedals in the same enclosure with the option to put one in the amp's effects loop and one in the front, or both of them in the front of the amp.
Whoa.
Absolutely crazy. It took so much time. So you come up with this cool concept of the Red October, the old submarine and the film. You come up with a concept. You got the blueprints for that submarine, the Red October, and we put that on as the artwork and painted it red. And we did some sort of Russian style Soviet text on it and stuff. It just turned out really well, but it took so long. I thought maybe I'll build a few more of them in the future, but only as custom orders.
Wow, Red October. That's a great idea.
But I'm sat looking at my pedal board now, and I've got a tuner and a reverb and everything else. A tuner, a reverb, and my dual chorus. Everything else, and the whole thing is a drive pedal. So I'm just addicted to drive pedals, and it's lots of them that do the same thing. But why not?
Yeah, but they do the same thing, yes, but everything does it just a little bit different, and affinity for having it or the brand. That's the collector mentality, man. You know that.
Exactly, yeah. So they make you play differently, and I don't care if it's the same pedal in a different color. It's going to make me play differently because I hear with my eyes. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's what Jared says all the time. Speaking of Jared, he's got a quick question here.
So about your future here in the United States, if you serve 20 years, you can retire, and usually service people that had done 20 years and retired, they usually go out and they do a career that they've always wanted to do because it just works out that way. So my question to you is this something you're going to dive into a lot more after you're done serving?
This is definitely the way I want to go and what I'm working towards. However, the next 5 years are going to be the test. I've given myself 5 years to make this a viable option. And if it is, I'm going for it. And if it isn't, there's a lot of money in refrigeration engineering, so I'll do this on the side and engineer. But yeah, definitely, this is something that I want to make a thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if my wife's listening, I'm definitely going to get a normal job.
Well, man, thank you so much for sharing all this stuff with us. It's been a real treat hearing your backstory and the things that motivate you. From a small builder's perspective, you've taken such great steps to ensure that you're doing something that you're proud of, that you're doing something that people love, and that is unique. I mean, whether it's the presentation or just a little tweak on circuits and stuff, you've got something really unique out there. So I appreciate your effort and the fact that you're doing it and giving it your all, man.
Thanks very much, mate.
You're welcome. We are going to segue into
our awesome little segment called Would You Rather? This week's Would You Rather. You're at a concert, a Joan Jett concert.
Who?
Joan Jett. She's awesome. So you're at the concert, and you have a backstage pass. You go backstage, and Joan Jett's feeling quite generous. Why, Tony?
Well, I think she wants to give you one of her guitars.
the guitar.
Well, there could be a couple different things. So the guitar, the white guitar, the Melody Maker that we all have seen and said, what the heck is that? So if you go back in time, it was obviously a refinished 1965 Gibson Melody Maker. It has a tune-o-matic bridge and tailpiece like a Les Paul. It also has 2 humbuckers.
Yep.
And 4 controls set up like a Les Paul. Now, interestingly, that very guitar, belonged to Eric Carmen from a little pop group from Cleveland called the Raspberries, and all of the big hits, and that was one of his touring guitars. It was that particular guitar. It started off life as a Pelham Blue 2 pickup, 2 single coil pickups. He had it refinished, had it routed, had a tune-o-matic tailpiece put on it. And so a lot of the work was done before Joan got her hands on it. Now, I think when she got it, she put a Dirty Fingers Gibson pickup in it. And that became her signature sound. So she was looking for a guitar that apparently was lighter than the Les Paul that she was playing at the time.
Those were heavy.
And the roadie from the Raspberries, I think his name was Doogie, became Joan Jett's roadie. And through a series of events, and I think Eric Carmen was selling off gear, she was able to purchase that same guitar. So that guitar has tons and tons of mojo.
Yeah.
But back to you, Jared. So what are the options?
That's a pretty iconic guitar, man.
That is like a holy grail.
Yes.
So, would you rather have that guitar that Tony just explained about for a good long while, which is very specific,
the white conversion,
which is pretty awesome, very iconic, or would you rather have her mint Pelham Blue 65 Melody Maker all stock before it was all modified to what it is now? Would you rather have that same guitar in original condition before modified by anybody? That is the question.
All right.
What is the answer?
Yeah. Tony.
I mean, this is easy. I'm just going with the Joan Jett. Well, actually, the Eric Carmen / Joan Jett conversions are what made that guitar. Melody makers in general they were student guitars, so they were not really set up to play like a Les Paul and things like that. The horns are the major difference. So the horns are much smaller up through like 64, and then 65 like they kind of shot out, and that would have had that Maestro vibrato on it, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst vibratos ever made. I'll just say it. A lot of people that have those, they either take them off or it has like basically a wraparound bridge tailpiece on it, so they just bypass the whole thing.
The tuners that they had back then didn't help either.
Oh, the strip tuners?
Yeah.
The whole thing. So I think the conversion that Eric Carmen had done, including painting it white, which was kind of cool, made the guitar a better instrument. So while and I'm a fan of Pelham Blue, but I think the what was done to that guitar actually made it a little more rock and roll friendly, shall we say. So I'm going with that.
Gotcha. I like it. Joe, how about yourself?
I'm going for the beat up, battle scarred one because it's like myself, had a good life.
So that's going to be the white conversion, right?
Yeah, the conversion, the one that's got a bit of character to it.
Yeah, for sure. Jared?
As much as I would enjoy having all the creativity to myself, having, modded after I get it, because, as a student guitar, it wouldn't bother me as much to do so. And plus, not only that, in vintage terms, 1965 is pretty much the beginning of the end of the golden vintage era that are really sought after. So as much as I would love to, change all that myself, I would have the iconic police after me and want to bust my doors down and crucify me for messing with Joan Jett's, guitar.
I gotcha.
And you know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely going with, the white guitar with the dirty fingers.
I had you pegged for a Pelham Blue.
I'm not,
switched.
I did.
Switcher.
I did because of the terms, and I have a ton of respect for Joan Jett and what she's done for the punk world.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, all right.
Todd, I don't even think we have to ask you.
No, I'm going white. So part of the reason that we brought this up is because when we were talking about this at dinner, Jared was steadfast on going Pelham Blue, and we couldn't believe it. We're like, what? Not the Pelham Blue isn't nice, but he loves Pelham Blue. And
I slept on it.
yeah,
He slept on the guitar?
all right. Well, that's unanimous. We
It's
can
stuck
all
on my side.
we can all appreciate the contribution that she's made to the rock and roll world.
Totally.
And I mean, who wouldn't want? It's
And
an
don't
iconic
forget
guitar.
Eric Carmen.
I'm not forgetting him, but I'm focused on Joan.
Well, I know, but you're forgetting Eric.
I'm not. I just
Eric,
said-
if you're listening, we love you.
We just said his name 3 times.
He's
I
still
can't forget.
alive?
Did he appear in front of us?
Right. Okay. Hey, real quick, Joe, where can people, before we get into our little last segment, where can people find you?
Oh, people can find me mainly on Instagram, Hello Sailor Effects, or on Facebook. I've also got a Reverb shop or store, as you guys say. If people just get in touch through any of them mediums. And if you don't mind, I'd like to offer any of the listeners a 20% discount on anything I sell.
Wow.
Whether it be effects pedals, guitars, through either Instagram, Facebook, or Reverb. Just message me, get in touch, mention the podcast, and I'll keep that going right the way up until Christmas Eve.
That's amazing. All right, so I'm gonna reiterate that. 20% off anything in Hello Sailor's Reverb store. Okay, and that means what he's selling, guitar. He hasn't mentioned guitars, gear, pedals, whatever he's doing. You're gonna get 20% off if you get in contact with him via his all the various ways to get in contact and mention the guitar knobs. Okay. So there's not a code, so don't look for a code. You got to get in touch with Joe and make a friend, all right? Make friends with Joe, and he's going to give you the friend discount.
That's right.
All right?
Secret handshake.
That's awesome. Thank you
old
for that.
school,
That's
man.
super generous, man. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
And anything that we can do to help people get a hold of the Boutique Builders gear is, that's special. It's good stuff. Tony Baloney.
Yes.
Bring it home, Daddy-O.
All right. This point of the show, we like to thank a special group of people who help make the podcast possible. Honestly, we could not do this with help from our patrons on Patreon. It's whether you get in on the one of the lower levels or all the way up to an upper level, every dollar is appreciated.
It really
and
is.
does help offset our costs. So thank you in advance. If you go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs, you can see there are a couple different levels that you can participate in. Each level has its own special selection of prizes and fun stuff, swag, if you will.
Yep.
Barefoot buttons, guitar picks, stickers,
T-shirts.
t-shirts, you name it. It's all there. But when you become an executive producer, you get all of that stuff. I mean, all of it. A big pile. But in addition, Jared, what happens?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
And that's what I'm going to do right now.
That's right.
So thank you. Extra big thanks to our executive producers. Doug Gann, Tim Novak, John Esterly, Chris Heidel, Tig Harmon, Tyler Bray, John Anglin, Anthony Lathrop, Johnny Knowles, Stefan Lam, Rick Langlu, Michael McVeigh, Michael Senchuk, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Ken Sayers, Corey Nigro, Brad Partridge, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Chris Kearney, Sean S. John Daly, Martin Cliff, and Tom Barazin.
My man.
Man, I'm going to punch you in the throat.
That's right.
I think I got stuck there for a
Yeah,
second.
you did. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. And keep the support coming. We truly appreciate you.
Yep.
Gentlemen, this has been a blast. Tony, where can people get in touch with you?
You know, if you want a special pick guard, a custom pick guard, something you're changing out pickups, all that fun stuff, go over to pickguardian.com. There'll be all my contact information, some general information about pick guards. If you want to see some of the projects I've been working on, you can go over to Instagram to Pick Guardian and the number 1.
Great. Jared.
If you are in need of some guitar pickups, or you want to change your sound, your tone, or you want it to look more vintage correct, or whatever may have you,
Or maybe you want to take an old Melody Maker and turn it into a Joan Jett model.
I'm all for it. I can do the Buford T Buckers, which is a version of the Dirty Fingers. Get a hold of me, Jared, Jared, at brandonpickups.com. Go to the website, search around.
Do you do rewinds too?
I do rewinds, pretty quick turnaround at a low cost.
Well, all right.
Todd, how about you?
Well, you can get a hold of me, Todd, at theguitarknobs.com. Shoot me an email. Tell us what your would you rather is. We would love to hear that. Or just share why you're listening. We get a lot of messages about that. And if you want to just give a digital high five, we really appreciate it and love hearing from you guys. You can also shoot me a direct message on Instagram, and we will read it. So, all right. It has been a blast talking to you, Mr. Joe Halliday.
Thanks very much.
Continued luck with your Hello Sailor brand and your pedals and your amp, and out on the high seas, stay safe so you can come back and make more pedals for us.
Thanks very much. This has been absolutely surreal. I literally build pedals listening to your podcast constantly, and it's just weird being on. So thanks very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right, everybody, have a fantastic guitar weekend. Subscribe!
Yeah.
Now Tony's laughing at me. Hang on.
Hello, sailor.
Yeah, we're getting hungry. We were doing this.
Okay.
I appreciate you bringing the donuts for me. I'm going to take them home.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.